look, feel, and perform their best. Activator can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in, call, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits 0 for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran, for 90 minutes after the game. The Jay Foreman postgame show, sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Creecat, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Most parents have a homework schedule for the weekdays, but don't forget to cover the weekends. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. A good way to avoid a problem is to set a homework schedule for the weekend. Set aside a couple hours of homework time on Saturday and help your student avoid staying up late Sunday night to finish a project. Remember, communicating with your child's teacher is vital for student success.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Brian at Midwest Bank, and we've been proudly serving clients in the Lincoln community since 2008, and we're excited to open a second location in January 2024 at 70th and Pioneers Boulevard. Our new branch will provide all the convenient services you're looking for in a bank, along with the friendly staff we're known for. Whether you're starting a business or expanding your business, our team is here for you, your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com, member FDIC.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles, from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all.
Down, flip it and reverse it. If I could turn back time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Good afternoon and welcome to Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Melby. Tom Stevens is out of town, and joining me on today's program for the full 2 hours is Mr. Jake Bachhoven, the one of the proud hosts of The Captain, the producer, the guy that makes sure that the show goes on Monday through Friday with Terrell and Vershawn. Thanks for joining. Jake.
Yeah, pleasure to be with you. And it's always even better when we don't just complain and bitch about a loss, I suppose, all show. We actually can talk about a victory this week.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm sitting there watching the game on Friday night, and my thoughts and feelings are exactly what I think most Nebraska fans' thoughts and feelings were, which was just simple frustration. You've got guys that have been here for a number of years on the offensive line that are making the same mistakes they made game one that they played at Nebraska. You've got a center who I think realistically, he's an all-conference level center, but he makes mistakes sometimes where he goes a little further than he needs to. He's picked up, I believe, 3 unsportsmanlike penalties that were just not really good.
End of play type.
Yeah, end of play. It's like, why did you do that? And, and we're going to have Jay Foreman on this hour, and I know Jay will attest to this, and what we did for the last 5 years talking about this. What happens in practice happens during the game is kind of the majority. I mean, that's kind of a standard, is what you see in the game more than likely was happening at practice as well. So I listened to and watched Matt Rule in the post game, And I had failed miserably in being a fan where I lost sight of the fact that we won the game. I was so focused on the poor execution, the poor game management, the fumble, turnovers, the penalties, and just all of the bad play. That's all I could focus on. And Matt Rule's like, we won.
Yeah.
This is a process, and he's encouraging Husker fans, man, get behind this and enjoy the ride. I get it. We didn't play perfect, but we won. And I was just kind of like, I feel like an idiot because I should have realized and understood. We all know this is going to be a process, but at the same time, it's the frustration of fumble, 15-yard penalty, 3rd and 2. Oh wait, no, now it's 3rd and 7 because a guy that started 30 games jumps again. Now, disconcerting signals. I get it. Our guys jumped, and it's the same guys that jumped, but there was a lot of speculation, and you even heard the TV announcers talking about STEM was one of the words that the defense was yelling, and that's evidently part of how we go through our snap count and when the ball gets snapped. And so, Matt Rule is sitting there explaining to the officials, this is their call. This is on. There's one time he goes, that one's on you, and he pointed at the one referee, and so. You hate seeing that, but I know we've been the victim of it numerous times. I go back to I think it was the Iowa game or something where it was somebody was clapping and they were doing it from the sideline, and Kirk Ferentz was in the post game pretty flippant about we weren't doing that. And then there's video that surfaces immediately of their assistant coaches on the sideline clapping as loud as they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, whatever, dude. Yeah. We caught you. We got video proof. So how do you combat that? I don't know. That's, it's let the guy that's, the coaching staff, they could figure out maybe a better way, a silent count or something. But
it's weird because I've watched a lot of football in my life. And I just don't know, and obviously more Husker games than anything else, but I don't know if I've seen disconcerting signals called before 2021 against Michigan. And then it happened, like you said, against Iowa. Yeah. And now, it's just seems to be a Big Ten Nebraska call going against Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the unusual. Yeah. It's something you never, I'm like, what is disconcerting? Like we were making fun of whoever said it at one point. I think it was a referee that made the comment that's what the penalty was disconcerting signals. And we're all like, what the hell is that? Did he just make that up?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's actually a rule. Oh, okay.
My favorite part of there was that, because I remember 2021 Michigan, it was a very close game. Adrian ended up fumbling in the end, and Nebraska loses. There's a few of those ones.
Which game?
yeah, this is the Michigan one. But I just love that game because there was disconcerting signals, which I'd never heard before, which they called. And then they called, my favorite one was, they said joint possession, Michigan's ball, which is like, I've never heard joint possession, first of all. And if there truly is joint possession, then how's it Michigan's ball? That just didn't make any sense.
Exactly. So this is Husker Rewind. It happens every Sunday from 5 to 7 right here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Mike Melby. That's Jake Bachhoven. If you're watching us on the Sarter Heyman stream, thank you very much. You can check out every live broadcast out of this gorgeous new studio as we stare out onto O Street now from 11th and O on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Allo, Channel 951. And all of our guests join us on the Allo VIP line as well. And you can be a part of the program, 402-464-5685, Sutter Heyman text line, or the Honda of Lincoln hotline. So, weird weekend with the Friday night game. What'd you do? How's your weekend been?
It was awesome because I watched a lot of college football yesterday. I usually don't get the chance to really get too into it. I mean, usually I'll DVR a game or two, and by the time I get to it, I already know what the end of it is. So it's just different watching the game. Watching live games yesterday was a lot of fun, something I don't get the chance to do a whole lot.
Yeah, and it was one where I was kind of looking forward to it, but we had an illness in the house that postponed a little get together that we had. My girlfriend Tracy's got a haunted. It's a club, like a haunters club. We're all home haunters, and so we moved the get together to yesterday. And so our whole day was planning and built. So I didn't get to watch any college football, but I am not built anymore to set up for a party and then have the last people leave my house at 3:15 in the morning. This morning, both Tracy and I, like, everything hurts.
Uh-oh.
It is. Oh yeah. Just we're old and rickety, I think.
Did you drink a lot of water today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Water, Gatorade,
Yeah.
couple of IVs.
The old routine.
Yeah. I started the yard on fire, but it's kind of funny because Tracy goes, "Hey, Mike, the yard's on fire underneath the new fire pit." And I'm like, and I just kind of walk over, and one of the guests a little while later goes, "I've never seen somebody react to a fire outside of where it's supposed to be so nonchalantly." And I'm like, I start a lot of stuff on fire. I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah.
So, Tom and I kind of changed the starting gate to the opening kickoff. So I'm still working on a sounder for it, but we'll kind of recap a couple of things that happened earlier this week in and around Nebraska. And that's kind of where it's centering this week versus we try to sprinkle in some other stuff. But Husker volleyball sits at 15-0, 6-0 in conference after a pair of wins in Michigan this weekend. Friday night, they knock off Michigan State in 4 sets, then sweep Michigan yesterday. Harper Murray has 12 kills in the Michigan State game, 13 last night. And then yesterday, Lindsey Krause, 15 kills to lead the Huskers. They return home to the friendly confines of the Devaney Center next Friday, and Saturday night they'll play Michigan State again, and then they play Penn State as well. Husker sophomore gymnast. I practiced.
Okay.
Chenga Bakaki. Anyway. I cannot. She is an amazing gymnast. She is from Budapest originally, and yesterday she finished 8th in the vault at one of the national events, and she will be representing Hungary in next summer's Paris Olympics. So, Chinga, I am apologizing for the pronunciation of the name. I tried my best. I practiced, and I didn't practice well enough, but congrats. Enjoy Paris and enjoy the Olympics.
Yeah, wow.
Nebraska baseball cruised to a 22-2 win in 12 innings yesterday. I read that and I'm like, did they change the rules on how many innings? Yeah, whatever. They played 12 innings and they beat Cloud County Community College. 9 Husker pitchers struck out 15. They only walked 3. That's a great sign. Dylan Carey led the way. He had a couple of doubles and a homer, went 3 for 6. 4 other Huskers also hit home runs. Tyler Stone, Ben Columbus, Hayden Lewis, and Cole Evans. And then Nebraska soccer yesterday rolled to a 4-2 win at Hibner Stadium. It was senior day. And Eleanor Dale, I don't know if I'm not a big guy that follows soccer. It's just never been a sport that I've followed and covered. But I every time I read anything about Nebraska soccer, they're talking about Eleanor Dale. She scored 2 yesterday, including her nation-leading 19th goal. So props to her and John Walker and the soccer team. They're 9-2-3 overall, 3-1-2 in the Big Ten. So that's kind of a wrap-up of the Husker sports scene here. How you and I don't talk a whole lot about fantasy stuff, fantasy football. How is your fantasy team doing? And are you in a league with guys here in the station?
Not here at the station. We've tried that before, and a couple of years ago, never got into it. But I'm in 3 separate fantasy football leagues, and I always kind of get mad because I can put together a pretty good roster. And so, like in every league, I'm either I'm top 4 as far as scoring, or number 1 in 2 of them. But it doesn't always reflect on my record because sometimes you play, some other high scores from week to week. And so there's one league I'm like the 4th leading scorer, and I am 1-3. So I'm hopefully getting better. But I've done a good job as far as waiver pick up to the point that I got Nakua, the wide receiver Rams rookie sensation, and I had Cooper Kupp coming back. And so I didn't know whether to start one or the other or both. I went with both, and we'll see if that works out for me.
Probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah, every year I've been in the same fantasy league for, probably 16, 17 years now. And I've won it 2 or 3 times. And it's funny because the years that I have missed the playoffs, I have the highest points against. It is ridiculous. There was one year that I averaged 11 more points per week than anybody else, and I missed the playoffs because the points allowed were just astronomical. I'd have a week where my team does great and I score. The league isn't built. There's no PPR and only 4 points for a passing touchdown. So it's not built to have 150-point weeks.
Yeah.
And there were weeks I scored 141 points and I lost to somebody who scored 185.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what do you do?
Yeah. And if you don't know fantasy too well, that has nothing to do with you. You don't have like a defense or anything.
Yeah.
It's just, well, you do have a defense, but it doesn't.
But it's only scoring points, not trying to prevent
It's not like
them.
you can prevent your opponent that week from having points.
So, yeah, and it's so funny. This year, week 1, I had 3 active players that played and were not injured that scored 0, 0, and -2 points.
Oh, yikes.
I was like, this is going to be a long year. And then I rattled off 2 or 3 straight wins, and then I'm taking on the person that's in first. And one of my starting running backs went down first play of the game.
Uh-oh.
And so I got a big 0 there, and so I think I'm going to wind up getting beat. But yeah, it's been a weird year with fantasy football.
Well, it's kind of fun. I actually convinced my wife to join the league this year.
Oh, nice.
So it's the first time there, and me and her are 1-2 in the league, and we're facing each other for the first time today. We put a little friendly wager on it, and I haven't seen lately. Well, I'll see what the score is, but yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fun. She likes football enough. Not a diehard, just kind of getting into it, but I think it's a kind of a cool way to bring her in and start to follow along what's going on weekly. But I also obviously kind of help her out with her lineups and tell her, what she should be doing to a degree. So I kind of run 2 teams.
You're who was it? Mac Jones that got benched today. You're like, no, you want to start him. Trust me.
Yeah, no.
Come on, honey.
Well, I was kind of torn this week because I was facing her, and Jonathan Taylor, she had on her bench coming off. He just signed, the new contract, and he didn't have a particularly good game today. So she thinks that I deceived her by telling her, no, yeah, you want to start Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to go when I get home, but we'll see throughout the remainder of the night.
Going to be fun. What did you take away from Friday night's game? I mean, a win is a win.
Yeah.
We kind of have covered that, but at the same time, Matt Rule is like, trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy this time. I get it, but when the process that we're seeing is simply you figured out how to win a game when you do all of the things wrong every week, you did them again. Like there hasn't been a process other than the fact that your defense played flat out that well, and Illinois is that bad that you were able to win a game when you made all of these same mistakes.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway on the way everything played out on Friday?
It's just, again, I think it's just mixed feelings. It's tough to come out of that and think, hey, Nebraska is just storming the league right now. Like that. So what I honestly did think, and I've said this a few times, and I hate it because I don't want to be negative after a win. And I think this sounds inherently negative. I think with that, the standings that we saw going into that game was the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten West. Now it's very early. So, take that with a grain of salt, but to a degree, I didn't. I think that's what we saw. And I think Northwestern's right along with them. And I think they've got a chance with Northwestern coming up, who struggled with Howard, or was it Howard? Somebody
the mighty Howard Bison.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's certainly an opportunity for things to change. But when I watched that game and you watch Nebraska win, and you see, I mean, national people were tweeting like, this is ugly. This is tough to watch. And you just kind of have to acknowledge, like, yeah, that's where we're at. If you win, and I even combine it with the Iowa win. I know that was a different staff last week, but last year, that your last 2 Big Ten wins, it's like pulling teeth to get a win. I mean, because if you remember that Iowa game, they dropped several interceptions. Like they just like the chance to win it. Right when they get to the point of winning these games, they just try to give the other opportunities to the other teams.
I felt horrible for Quentin Newsom because he gets his first career interception. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. He finally gets his first career interception. Great return, sets him up, and it's like you just there you go. Go get me a touchdown. Oh,
yeah.
You fumbled it back to him.
That could have been the story of the game, right? Is any of those momentum plays that just kind of got lost with the way that game ended. That's the way that people are going to talk about that game. Is Nebraska had several chances to put it away and didn't. And they still came out the victors. And the defense has stood up, and you can have nothing but great things to say about Tony White and the defensive performance. But the reason why I think it might be the bottom 2 teams in the Big Ten West or looked like that is because I think that if you do that against most opponents, they're going to take advantage. They're going to capitalize on those mistakes and end up beating you.
Minnesota.
Yeah, very good.
I mean,
that's what happened.
Yeah, that's you sit there and you scratch your head. And this is one where, everybody's like, well, Nebraska should have won that game. Well, guess what? Nebraska should have lost Friday night, based on, the turnovers and the timing and the whatever. It's just that Illinois, I'll tell you what, Luke Altmaier, though, Illinois has got some issues here and there and everywhere. They really do. But Luke Altmaier is pretty salty little quarterback.
Yeah.
A couple of rough decisions and a couple of drops, but at the same time, the young man can spin the football.
Well, that touchdown he threw to Pat Bryant was right in the breadbasket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just sit there and again, it's one of those where we didn't get as much pressure on him as I thought we would have. Although they ran so many, quick hit, not giving us a chance. And bottom line, you held them to 21 rushing yards, but their rushing game became screen passes. And just, the quick hitters and all that. And that's what you've got to do if you're getting dominated up front. But, and the guy that really has come on, there was a lot of talk about him last week. I think he winds up with a sack or a sack and a half. Princewell Umanmielen. Just crazy talented, athleticism, insane. I mean, it's so fun watching guys like that. And that's where, how about major props? I don't know that he got a catch. I'll have to look. But Malachi Coleman played a ton. And from what you could tell, I don't know that he had very many bad plays, like blown assignments, missed block. Obviously, no penalties against him for, a hold or something on a longer run. But he's a guy with all that athleticism. I hope they figure out a way to get him the ball. And it's one of those, get that quarterback, tell the receiver, take 2 steps back and you're going to throw him the ball. Get that quarterback that first
quick hitter,
complete pass. Get Malachi Coleman the ball somehow. I hope they do that here in 2 weeks against Northwestern. Hopefully Marcus Washington is okay and can come back. We don't know.
Yeah.
But if Malachi's playing, I hope they get him that first reception just to get him going and start involving him, because that athletic ability that he has is insane.
Yeah, and I think he caught an out route for 5 yards to get his first catch as a Husker, but he has been blocking pretty well down the field so far this year and got a lot more playing time. And I think that's important to point out, because when you really do kind of break it down, individually, there are a lot of highlights. I think Jamari Butler looked better than we've seen him as a Husker,
which is saying something, because he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And Jaden Doss got a lot of PT as well. And you love to see that. And do we need to see some more? Obviously, in the running back room, holy smokes! Talk about a position that's snake bit right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, like I said, it was an encouraging game from the standpoint when you don't focus on the the way it transpired, and you just look at it and say, hey, guess what? We're 3-3. We won. What else matters? You got a bye week now. Try to fix the mistakes and clean it up and go from there. So hopefully Jay Foreman, he said he was going to stop in. I haven't seen him yet, but you never know. He might be hiding around the corner. Otherwise, he
doesn't hide very well.
No. We'll give him a call if not. But it's Husker Rewind. Jay Foreman coming your way next, right here at 93.7 The Ticket.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
This is Brian at Midwest Bank, and we've been proudly serving clients in the Lincoln community since 2008, and we're excited to open a second location in January 2024 at 70th and Pioneers Boulevard. Our new branch will provide all the convenient services you're looking for in a bank, along with the friendly staff we're known for. Whether you're starting a business or expanding your business, our team is here for you, your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com, member FDIC.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today. Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Bach, you play a pretty mean blues guitar there.
I wish. I can't play any instrument. If I could play this, I think I'd be doing some concerts downtown in Lincoln as well.
Heck yeah. Join Little Ed and the Imperials.
Yeah.
They're down at everybody's favorite blues bar quite often. He's from Chicago. Look, you ever seen Little Ed? Oh my gosh. Little Ed has got a permanent smile tattooed on his face, and he loves life. He loves what he does. And they sit there, and the songs, all original stuff, they've been around for years. But Little Ed's one of my favorites.
I'll have to check it out.
Oh, yeah. On the Allo VIP line, we have got Mr. Jay Foreman. He is a big part of 93.7 The Ticket, as you know. Let's see. We've got him on Old School with DP and Jay, the post-game show with Jay Foreman. Jay, it seems like every time I listen at all, you always are jumping in and helping everybody else out and appearing on everybody's show. It's fun to have somebody with your knowledge and wisdom so available. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, man. I enjoy it. You guys are, two of my favorites, so it's always good to jump on whenever I can.
Greatly appreciate it. What were your biggest takeaways from Friday night's game?
I think number one is they won the game. It was obviously it goes without saying. They'll tell you I guess an ugly win per se, and ugly win is always better than a ugly loss. And look, I can't put a true number on the years. We've had a lot of ugly losses, right? And so
yep.
They found a way to win, and Nebraska was from the very beginning. I felt like they were a better team. And both teams were, I wouldn't say desperate, but definitely needed a win. And so sometimes, desperation can bring sloppy play. You almost kind of want it too much. But I felt like, Nebraska was a better team, even though, obviously not the most complete team that, I'm sure Matt Rule and staff wants. But, from the very beginning, for, the defense started a little slow. Obviously, you're gonna face their best offensive output most likely in those first 15 plays. They're scripted. Those are probably the ones that work on the most. And, and they got after Nebraska a little bit. Some of Illinois is doing, but if you really study it, or at least I look at it like from a certain way, a lot of those plays I think were Nebraska is doing, just a step or two, inside, and lost leverage a couple times, kind of kept their drive going. But when it came down to it, Nebraska had a huge goal line stand, which took all the momentum out of the Illinois sideline in the stadium. And then, really what was pretty cool to me, and what they did the kind of mush push play, and then show some big cojones, to go deep to Marcus Washington. I felt like, that's a mindset thing that maybe Matt Rule probably instilled in them, in the sense of, he pushed all his chips in, challenged everybody, not only the players but the coaches. I think, in this last, week before the Friday night game, and they responded. It was, like I said, it wasn't pretty, but ultimately they won. I would probably say, really, this was a complimentary football game. Now, it wasn't a pretty complimentary football game, but when you look at it, the offense did some things. Obviously, scored, up 17-0. The defense did some things. You got a pick. I think they had 3 sacks and 6 tackles for losses. And then the special teams, where the Taggy and those guys covering and doing well, as far as covering punts and kickoffs and get a fumble recovery on a kickoff. So all 3 phases, I think, was a big takeaway for me, that they all contributed and led to Nebraska getting the victory.
Jay, you played 8 years in the NFL, I believe.
Yeah.
The linebacker position inside and out. Defenses inside and out. This Nebraska defense is good, not great, very good.
Sure.
But the linebacker play, regardless of who it is, seems to be at a different level. Can you walk me through what they're doing, the linebackers are doing, to help this defense be successful?
Well, they're multiple. And, first you got to give credit, well, I guess to both. You got to give it credit to the defensive coaching staff. So that's Tony White, Dvorak, Pot Roast, and Evan Cooper. And I hope I'm not missing anybody. Well, obviously Tony White, right? So not only are they good motivators, but they're good teachers. And I think, I keep saying it, when a coach comes in and says, oh, every position's open, if you adapt to our way of life or doing things, you have a chance, we'll give you a fair chance. Well, defensively, they back that up. I mean, the first game against Minnesota, it seems like they played every single kid that traveled, in the first series.
Yep.
But the thing is, everybody played and they were effective. And so, in particular about the linebackers, what they've done is it seems like they've made it simple. They have some basic rules, and they have guys that it seems like they know both spots in particular, or 3 spots, the 3 linebacker spots. And they're taking guys in little roles, and then once they get better at that, then they expand the role. And you take a guy, you expand your roster when you come in and you see a John Bullock, right, who was kind of I guess a rover, in the other system.
Yeah.
Kind of a special teams run and hit guy. Put him in the weight room, teach him how to play the position, and he's out there, handling business. And then when you're patient with Nick Henrich, and now he looks faster. But then also he's put on weight and looks stronger, right? And so I think as the season goes on, he's going to get better. And then obviously you had Luke Reimer. Obviously he's unfortunately out for now. But then look at the flexibility, what you're able to do to take Mekhi Gaber, who kind of flashed in special teams, went out there against Colorado, had a really good game, took over the starting spot, the jack position. And so, you know what, you're a Swiss Army knife, put you in middle linebacker or inside linebacker, shoots the gap in a huge part to kind of stymie their offensive series, gets a 10-yard tackle for loss. And then you think of the jack position where you think of MJ Sherman, Chief Borders, and obviously Jamari Butler. And with the emergence of Jamari Butler, where you have, I think he has 3 or 4 sacks, and he missed 2 games. All of them are playing well. So I think what they're doing is they understand what they're doing. They know why they're doing it, and they're learning everything or everybody else's position around them. And that's why you're seeing them look a lot faster. That's why you see them a lot more, a lot more physical. That's why you see they're able to make adjustments, especially after that first series. The excitement of stopping them on the goal line, but I can guarantee you, they're talking to Malcolm Hartzog on that quick bubble screen. You can't lose leverage and not set the edge. They talked about Big Nash wrapping around on the ET stunt that you got to keep coming because that guy would have ran right to you, and they got a soft edge on the run. And then then they're doing a pretty good job of covering, right? And they're doing a good job of matching zones or matching routes to the zone concepts. And they're being aggressive when they need to. So that right now they're playing really consistent. Like you said, it's not a dominating defense, but I think for the most part, I think they've been consistent. And the biggest thing is they tackle well. You think of a guy like Omar Brown, right? I mean, he's between him and Singleton, they've been the two MVPs. And other guys have played well, but the two guys that didn't play much last year came in and made it easier for Miles Farmer to lead, and they both exceeded expectations. And made it easier for a guy that got thrown into the fire and Phelan Stanford to play well, who made a huge play, right? And so, and then let's not forget Isaac Gifford, bouncing back and having a good game. So I think they've embraced Tony White and whatever he's telling them, and they knew that they didn't play well up to the standard against Michigan, and they went out there and played a better game against Illinois, and now they have to go to the bye week with the same type of willingness to learn and competitiveness to get better throughout the bye week, because there's a lot of things they can get better at.
Jay, it's interesting. We're talking about more names or different names that come up every week. And Nebraska does another great job holding Illinois to 21 yards rushing, and they've shut down the rushing game from a few different opponents this year. Do you feel like there's a particular player or a few players that are key to that? Is the defensive line, the linebacker unit, the scheme? What's really shutting down the run against from several of the opponents this year?
I think it's a combination of everything, Bach. Nice to hear your voice, Bach. I'm sorry I couldn't make it in there, but I think one thing is the Nash, Hutmacher has really stepped up this year, right? Where he kind of did some things last year. I think he's in better shape than he was in the previous years. He's been pretty steady in there. You see the Minnesota game where he had like 4 or 5 tackles for losses, but then you have a couple games where he holds points pretty well, and then he had a couple games where he pass rushes some. So I think he's been effective. And then I think, Tony White has done a very good job of finding schemes and body types that can play in that 3-man front, 4-man front, and not be, out leveraged or out physical, based on, maybe having a weight disadvantage. And so you think of, Ty Robinson's been pretty decent. You like to see him play a lot better. He needs to play a lot better down the stretch, but he's been, he's starting to come out of his shell some. And then you have like a rotation between Blaze, Van Poppel's in there. He doesn't even look like a freshman. Jamari Butler, those guys. And then what the biggest thing I think they're doing is, like I said previously, is they all know what they're doing. They're playing with a better standard of getting to the ball. I still think they can run to the ball faster and harder. I really do. I think that's where they can create more turnovers and create more havoc. But I think that Tony White early, I think in spring, he said, or maybe it was fall camp, but I think it was spring. He said, everybody knows where to start at point A, and they might skip over B, but they all get to C at the right time and with the right mentality. So you see a better tackling team, and even when they may have missed tackles, there's other guys there. So that, eliminates kind of explosive plays, both in the run game and a little bit of yards after catch. And so, what they're doing over there, they should be happy with. But, it just can start. You're halfway through the season. This is where you need to really step up, because you got, the next 4 games, I guess, I think are, going to be, very winnable games. Your goal should be to try to win all of them, but you can't win all of them without winning the next one. So, the most important day for them is the next day they step on the field, the next day they step in the meeting room, the next day they step in the weight room, and there is no turnoff switch. And so if they adapt this mentality of we can do better, we can, let's shoot to try to be dominant, you'll see a defense play well against the Marylands, against the Wisconsins and stuff like that. Because there's not a game on the schedule for the rest of the year that they can't win.
Exactly. Jay Foreman joining us on the Allo VIP line brought to you by Allo Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. Jay, we're to the bye week. We're halfway through. Obviously, offensively, there is a lot to work on. Where do you think they focus? Where does the coaching staff focus here for the next couple of weeks? Is it game management? Is it penalties? Is it figuring out a way for that offense to look a little less clunky? Where are they going to focus?
I think that, they need to get back to like do some self scouting, and which is great. Look, this is a young staff, man, right? And it's and none of them have coached in the Big Ten, so they're all learning, whether they want to admit it or not, and that's fine. That's just part of coming in and you're a new coach. And so they need to do some self scouting because some of the things they maybe predicted that was going to work, or players that they predicted were going to play well, maybe need to step up some. So I think the biggest thing they need to do is make sure they get back to the basics, right? Let's because that's where a lot of their mistakes came from. Fundamentals, knowing the nuances of every play, knowing the importance of every play is 4th and 1. We have got to have it, right? Develop that mentality, get back to that, and then look at, obviously clock management, for 6 games in a row, that last series, the offensive series before the half needs to be addressed, right? Then you need to think about the penalties. Okay, where are most of our penalties coming from? A lot of them are false starts in the offensive line. Okay, we need to sit down and say, okay, why is this going on? And, look at who has this many and get a collective answer and then put a remedy out of it. Was more accountability, maybe, easier snap count, better pre-snap communication, telling each other. And then they need to probably figure out I'd probably say maybe with Heinrich Harburg at the helm, Jeff Sims, I'm assuming, is the backup, and maybe adapt your system with Heinrich Harburg being your ace versus him being the backup, and then maybe try to find a more consistent run game, conventional run game that fits our offensive line. And what I mean by that is when you look at when we played Colorado and even when we played Minnesota, and at times, and there was a couple times against Illinois where we kind of ran the kind of inside, outside zone. We used to call them take plays and kind of like Anthony Grant be Anthony Grant. They got some good movement, right? Big old offensive line. And, Ethan Piper can move, he can pull, Scott can pull, Nuri can pull, but, the 2 previous guys are probably the best. Hone in on that with that big group, and then put some like spice on that. Maybe that'll marry that offensive line and get into a consistent conventional run game, which then will open up play action pass, Fedoni, working some of these young rookie receivers that they only have to read 1 or 2 basic coverages. And then it allows Heinrich Harburg to be more efficient as a runner and a passer. And then secondary is like when you're getting into this option game, RPO, right? We need to be a little bit more crisp in our quarterback running back exchange, whether he's taking it or keeping it. And then when he's running the option, he needs to get more fluid. He needs to be more fluid, doing that. And that just comes from reps, mental and physical reps. And so if you do that, the offense will be more consistent and then be able to put together drives and be able to score points when you get down there in Illinois territory, 3 or 4 times inside the 20. We got to cash in. If you get 3 times like that, your goal is, 3 touchdowns, 21 points. At the worst, 17. We got 0. So those are the things we need to think about, because when the defense is putting you in those positions, we got to cash in on them. And so, that, and then, get the kicking game together. Return game needs to probably, get a little bit of a, kick in the butt. And Christian Alvano, he started to I think he's starting to come out of it a little bit and just sit him down and say, look, dude, you're not a freshman no more. We believe in you. You're on a full ride scholarship. Let's really get down to the fundamentals of kicking the ball, and so we can use that powerful leg, because there's going to be a game that we're going to need you to step way up. And we've seen you do it in high school, and now we need you to do it in college. And so they, really, Mike and Bach, really, to be honest with you, all that stuff I just said doesn't get anywhere if you can't handle success. And I keep saying this, how this team, how this staff, how this football organization handles success, which is beating Illinois, being 3-3. You can kind of see the finish line, possibly making a bowl game, but you have a week off, or, and you got 2 weeks before you have a game, and you're going to have everybody telling you how great you are. And, could you lose your edge? Right then, this is time to batten down the hatches. This is when we need to really focus in and work harder, because it is a football season. Yeah, you don't have a game, but that doesn't mean we don't have a work week. And so, whether you have a team rule, like, look, man, if you go home, I don't want to see you popping up down there in Miami, Florida or something like that. Look, this isn't spring break, right? This isn't fall break. You're not in like high school or middle school. If you're going to rest, sit at home and rest, lock in and focus. We got a big challenge next week against Northwestern, and you put in a good work week of improving on the things that you can improve on. This team will be able to handle business and exceed, the expectations. If they don't, then every game's going to be a grind because, when you look at where Nebraska is at right now, they have a tremendous amount of opportunity to do, some things in this first year under Matt Rule. You can win games and you can develop players at the same time and have an end goal. And then if you make a bowl game, you get 30 more days or a whole bunch of more practices.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of things on the line here, and it all starts and stops with how they handle this bye week.
Great stuff, Jay. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and have a great week.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All righty. Jay Foreman joining us on the Allo VIP line. Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Mike Melby. That's Jake Backup, and we'll come back and give you some grades from last Friday night's 20-7 Nebraska football victory over Illinois. Right after this.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Don't miss the Stars home opener on October 7th against the Madison Capitals. It's a Saturday night showdown at the Icebox as Lincoln welcomes an Eastern Conference opponent to the capital city for the first time since 2020. Purchase tickets for the home opener and you'll get the next day's game for free. Lock in your seats now at lincolnstars.com.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits 0 for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran for 90 minutes after the game. The Jay Foreman postgame show, sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Kreekak, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. I'm Mike Melby. That is Jake Bachhoff and Tom Stevens out of town this week. Big thanks to Jay Foreman for jumping on the Allo VIP line. You can join the conversation if you would like. 402-464-5685 is the Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Sartor Heyman text line. We are streaming on the Sartor Heyman stream on channel 951 on Allo, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as well. Grade-wise, and off the text line, I don't know who it was that asked the question, but I've had some stuff come up the first couple of weeks of RC car racing on Thursdays. But yes, I plan on being back this Thursday. I got big time into RC car racing late last year in their season, because they kind of go from about the 1st of September through the end of March. And I went out, bought a little tiny 18th scale sprint car, and was like, they run 6 classes. I probably better buy another one. And so then I bought another one, and now I'm going to go buy a third one and probably compete in 3 different classes. So
nice.
Yeah.
How does that work as far as the season? You like pay to be into the leagues?
No. It's just kind of a free for all. It's fun for guys that, like, can't afford to put a real, race car out on the thing. And it's kind of pricey. It's, a couple $100 for a little 18 scale car.
Oh, okay.
And it's not, but I'll tell you what, like, I love sprint cars. That's my background. It's where I've come from and grew up with and all that. And hopefully next Sunday, I'll have some big news to talk about from the sprint car standpoint. Anyway, the wheelbase is so short, and trying to drive that little thing, and it'll go like 22 miles an hour. And you're on a tight little track that's only like 20 feet long.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you're doing it. It's an oval. But it was not easy to control. So I bought one that's got a longer wheelbase. It's called an Eastern Dirt Modified, and I'm also going to buy a late model. But yeah, they're a blast. There's one guy down there, and if I'm not going to say what his name is, but he gets overly competitive, and he likes to wreck everybody else.
Uh-oh.
And him and I are going to have a chat if he starts anything this year, because we were talking at the end of last season about it, and because I asked these other guys, I'm like, is he always like that? And they're like, oh yeah. And they told me about a time that he like picked up a car and launched it across the store.
Oh yikes!
He was so mad. And it's like, yeah, no, that I can't have that, man. So anyway, that was off the Sartor Heyman text line. Let's do grades from Friday night's game. I don't know. Do you have the ABC 1, 2, 3 thing up?
Not up. No.
Okay, no worries. I'm going to start out with the running game. I gave the running game a D, 158 yards, 3.2 yards per carry, and 3 fumbles. Maybe it should have been a C- or whatever, but in looking at it, I felt like it could have and should have been better than it was, but I gave it a D. How about you with the running game?
Yeah, I mean, fumbles really hurting that late. I mean, I'd probably, to echo your sentiment, probably go with the C- or something, because the fumbles do bring it back. But it is what makes this offense run. And so, I mean, but nothing like, I guess I was expecting a little more out of Anthony Grant. Not that he had too bad of a game. Obviously did have the fumble. But coming off a 100-yard performance a few games ago, you're just not, you wonder, because are you going to get that 900-yard rusher back?
Well, yeah. Are you going to get the guy that ran for 100 yards a game for 4 or 5, 6 games last year? Or are you going to get the guy that averaged 40 yards a game the last 4 or 5 games?
Yeah.
That's
it's hit or miss.
You need the consistency. So from a passing game, offensively passing, Harburg 12 of 24 and a pick. I gave it a D again. It was good enough to score 20 points and get a win, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of work that needs to happen there.
Yeah, and maybe you could tell, maybe I grade on a scale, and you don't grade as much as a scale, but I know kind of what Nebraska is. I mean, I'd probably get into the C category too. I thought there was the best ball he's thrown to Marcus Washington we saw out of Harburg. Yeah. A ball to Ty Hahn that I think if it didn't hang up in the air, maybe he could have really done some damage with, but at least he got the completion out of it. Got Malachi Coleman his first catch. Thomas Fedoni was leading the team with 42 yards total. Again, nothing, never going to think that you got Peyton Manning out there. So grading on a scale, I'll give it a C.
Alrighty. How about rushing D? I went, there's no scale here. I just went flat out A+. 21 yards allowed, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. And they just, I get Michigan put up 249 yards on them, but at the same time, that's Michigan. And they only put up 249 yards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't their best game, whatever, but regardless, they're doing something defensively against the rush. And I'm impressed. A+ for me on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Altmaier, I think they had a quarterback spy on him for much of the game. He had 70 yards against Kansas. He had 69 yards against Kansas State, or excuse me, Kent State. I mean, that's where he can do some damage. And Nebraska just didn't let him get going. Fagan, their leading rusher, had 15 yards. I mean, that's a dominant defensive performance. A+ for sure.
Absolutely. Passing D, I gave him a C. Altmaier, 29 of 47. He had a TD and a pick. I don't know. It's one of those where you want to give him a little bit better grade, but at the same time, he had 289 yards. Did get sacked 3 times, but from a passing D standpoint, I went C+. Maybe it could have been a B. Maybe that me being a little more harsher. For what would you do from a passing defense?
Yeah, probably. I'd probably go a B too. I understand that. I think their passing defense, and especially in the numbers, hurts because the rushing defense is so good, right? So I mean, you're basically, if you have to pass, you throw the ball 47 times, you're going to get something out of it, and they did, close to 300 yards, like you said. But other than that absolute dime to Pat Bryant, there were a few Isaiah Williams plays that he can make with his legs, but I thought they held him down pretty good. The tackling I thought was just pretty good altogether. So yeah, I mean, I like that performance from Nebraska, outside of basically the one play, which again was just a pretty good coverage, just an absolute dime.
Yeah, see, you convinced me. I got to get rid of the C+. I'm moving that up to a B.
There you go.
You're right. Special teams play, I gave a B. It would have been an A. Brian Buschini he's having a bizarre year. He's stellar one week. He's a little off the next week. It wasn't his best game from a punting standpoint. They had, some wind to deal with as well. However, and another missed field goal by Tristan Alvano, but at the same time, man, they made some plays on special teams. I mean, they really seriously did. And you can see that's where you want to talk some progress, folks. There you go. You can see some progress with special teams, but I gave him a solid B there.
Yeah. And jumping on the fumble, that Taggy jumped on, that's an F on that play from Illinois special teams, but all you can do is play what's against you. Again, a little bit of a concern. I thought it was good that they got Alvano short kicks to work with. I know there was wind out there. Considering it was 1 of 4 entering the game, I suppose you'll take 2 out of 3, but it was another very makeable miss. So that continues to be a concern for me.
Yeah, it really does. Game management, I'm harsh here, and it's mainly wasting 3 time, and this is game management is coaching staff here.
Yeah,
it's an F, and the reason is because you waste 3 timeouts that could have come back to haunt you had you may have needed those if things don't go a different direction in the second half of that game, and again, just dumb penalties. Maybe there was discerning signals, and 3 or 4 of those false start penalties shouldn't have been, but again, 10 penalties for 70 yards, that is way too much overall. And again, first half, last possession, and they got to get better.
Well, and I think that plays into kind of the frustration in a win, is that this isn't a particularly overly talented team. I mean, it doesn't really pop at you when you watch it. And then if they're not coached well, you hope that coaching can kind of even that out. And like you said, with penalties and some of the management stuff, not necessarily pretty. So as Jay said, those guys are going through it too. It's their first go around in the Big Ten. They got their first Big Ten win. Hopefully we see an improvement from them as well.
Just real quick, play calling. I gave it a C. Overall, it's there's times that I don't understand the play call. I get it. I never played football. I never studied it at a high level, any of that. But I know the game relatively well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times that I just don't understand, 5 wide. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
they mixed more of that in this week.
And flip side is I've seen progress from Marcus Satterfield where he was in similar situations earlier in the season. And there's a play call that I'm screaming at the TV about. And then flip side, same situation on Friday night. And he made what I thought was a great call.
Yeah.
So he switched it up. And bottom line, man, Big Ten is not an easy conference. You got to figure it out. And it's a lot of learning curve there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think too, I mean, there were a few plays this year was just frustrating where you get a first down by grinding out a few runs. And then, I just hate the okay, then let's take our double reverse pass downhill. Like, you're just like, man, you've got a sustainable drive going here. That doesn't happen often. Don't be the thing that gets in the way of it. And I thought they at least didn't do anything too crazy there. So sometimes it's just, keep it simple, stupid is the best, especially with an offense like this.
Yeah, the KISS principle.
Yep.
So, all righty, that'll wrap up our grades. This is Husker Rewind. Jake Bacco been filling in for Tom Stevens. My name is Mike Melby. We will be back with the Big Ten Blitz right after this.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197. If you struggle with joint pain, there's good news. You don't need surgery to get back to full health. South Point Medical and Aesthetics offers breakthrough non-surgical options for treatment of moderate to severe joint pain. Our patients experience little to no downtime from our procedures, and the results are remarkable. They've had 14 years of successful treatments with patients from 35 states because of an effective word-of-mouth traffic. Learn more about how you can get lasting results for joint pain today at southpointmedical.com or call 402-323-8400.
Experience the Landmark difference with the next level of dealer support. Landmark, your local John Deere dealer, continually works to have parts on hand the first time you walk in the door. Our internal route system means we can get the parts to you typically same or next day to keep you up and running. At Landmark, we understand time is money. Get more uptime with our after-hours parts and service support on the phone or in the field. Our sales, precision ag, parts, and service teams are ready to serve you this planning season. Stop by your local Landmark today to experience the Landmark difference.
All right, Rico, let's do the final checklist before we head out. We have a lot of people coming to the tailgate today. I'm ready. Burgers? Check. Chips? Check. Icy cold beer? Check. Except this one. I'm forgetting something. Wait a second. Where's the Führer's cheese spread? I can't stop eating it. Rico, relax. I always pack extra. It's the biggest hit of the tailgate.
For the best appetizer, party dip, and tailgate snack, load up on Führer's cheese spread today. Found in most local grocery stores. The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. But there are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all. Put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. If I could turn back time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome into Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Melby. Tom Stevens out of town. Jake Bacco joining me here in studio, 11th and 0. If you want to be a part of the show, call up on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Text in on the Sartor Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. If you're watching this on the stream, it is the Sartor Heyman stream, Allo Channel 951, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Jake, were you able to find the Big Ten Blitz?
Yeah.
Do you remember Lanny Holstein?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tom told me he did this. I'm like, it's like the best singing job in radio lead-ins ever. So let's hit it.
It's Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all. Put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. If I could turn back time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts.
I don't think this is it. It's labeled wrong. I swear this says Big Ten Blitz.
Oh, well.
Even though we hyped it up, that didn't work out. So
yeah.
well.
All right. Well, Lanny, we appreciate the efforts that you put in a while ago. So I'll go ahead and get things kicked off. Michigan at Minnesota. Wolverines roll. They crushed the Gophers 52-10 yesterday. J.J. McCarthy, 14 of 20, 219 yards and a score. Plus, he rushed for 2 more touchdowns. Will Johnson set the tone early with a 36-yard interception return for a touchdown. It is the 18th straight win for Michigan at Minnesota, and the Little Brown Jug has been taken home by the Wolverines 43 of the last 47 times that these two teams have played. Michigan hosts Indiana next week, and Minnesota has a bye week. Michigan's starting to play like the team everybody expected them, because they were a little not quite living up to expectations, although J.J. McCarthy has been stellar. I mean, he's completing, 72% of his passes, and every decision he makes with the football, every decision he makes with audibles, just look absolutely fantastic. They look like they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a team that is been in the playoffs each of the last 2 years, Big Ten champs. We'll get to Ohio State games here in a little bit, but I mean, Michigan is ranked above them right now. I can see it. I know that they haven't always dominated people, and that's kind of what gave Nebraska fans hope. They're starting to get into their role, and I think as a Nebraska fan, I feel a little bit better watching Minnesota go through the same thing Nebraska did. And so I mean, I think they're starting to feel themselves.
You want to do Ohio State, Maryland?
I've got Wisconsin Rutgers pulled up, but we can do Ohio State, Maryland in a second. Wisconsin ended up winning this one 24-13 over Rutgers to improve to 4-1 on the season. Rutgers falls to 4-2. This was a bit of a game throughout the first half. Wisconsin up 10-0 with Rutgers threatening near halftime. However, a 95-yard interception return pretty much shut down any chance Rutgers would have in this game. So it was 17-0 at half. Eventually, Rutgers scores late to make it look a little closer than it was, but 24-13 final. Braylon Allen, 21 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Of course, they are without Ches Malushi now, so it's going to be important to keep Braylon Allen healthy. They've got that kind of new air raid system. Whether that's working or not is still kind of questionable. Tanner Mordecai, 17 of 31 for 145 yards and a touchdown. Not exactly air raid numbers, but
no.
I do think Wisconsin came out of this game. I think Rutgers has looked better this year, and so I thought this might be a real test. And they put up somewhat of a fight against Wisconsin, not enough to really scare them. But I think Wisconsin looks like the favorite in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, they're starting to play like a team. You're going, yeah, I think they may have the upper hand. One of the teams that I know a lot of people are saying, well, just give them a 10-1 record or 10-2, whatever, is Iowa, even though they're not going to do anything offensively. They win against Purdue 20-14 yesterday. Hawkeyes sit at 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the conference. Purdue, after an impressive victory last week, looked frustrated by that Iowa defense. Purdue falls to 2-4 overall, 1-2 in the conference. Despite only having the ball for 24 minutes, 32 seconds, Iowa comes up with enough big plays to get the win. Caleb Johnson ran for 134 and a TD. I think he had a touchdown run, second play that he touched the ball in the game for 67 yards. It's his first game back after an ankle injury that he suffered 4 weeks ago. Deacon Hill started his first game of his career in place of Cade McNamara, who is out for the season. He put up some relatively paltry numbers, 6 of 21 for 110. He threw a TD and a pick. The Iowa D, though, They won the game for him, man. They only had 3 sacks on the season coming into that game. They sacked Hudson Card 6 times, and they came up with 12 total tackles for loss. Next week, Iowa is at Wisconsin. And let's be honest, right now, the winner of that game is in the driver's seat in the Big Ten West. And you'd have to say they are the odds-on favorite to win it. And then Purdue hosts Ohio State next week. Road does not get any easier for them.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, they've got a formula and they stick to it, don't they? And that offense is darn right ugly at times. And Brian Ferentz, I mean, they put out the numbers. He's probably not going to get to 25 points per game. But again, the question that people have had is like, what if they win 9 or 10 games and I'd still say you move off him. Like, my God, would that program be something if they had an offense?
Yeah. It's insane. There's a guy, I can't remember who it is nationally, maybe Stuart Mandel or somebody, but he's doing like the race to 325.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. And he made the comment today. He goes, who cares? They may not score more than 10 points in any game, but they're still going to wind up 10-2. They're probably going to win the Big Ten West, and they're all going to get brand new contracts.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of saying 25 points a game?
I don't know why they publicly did that. I don't think that was the greatest decision to begin with. But
No.
it is interesting. I think if they actually put some semblance of an offense together, they could really compete. Because I mean, they went against Penn State and lost 31-0. I mean, there are times when it's just like overwhelmed. The defense can't hold forever. So I mean, it's amazing. But I mean, I've said this for years, and the way that they're currently set up, I like watching Iowa football because going into the game, the defensive special teams are going to have to make plays, and it's not like, well, hopefully they do. Like, they need to win games, and they routinely do it week after week.
Yeah, it's crazy. And let's face it, right now, Nebraska's playing a lot like Iowa.
Yeah.
Only the one difference, though, is Nebraska's offense, for all of its warts, they are possessing the ball. I mean, this is what a Big Ten offense needs to do from a time of possession standpoint. And they're doing it. And that's where, it goes back to play calling. I think there's been some better play calls to run some more clock to, do what they need to do to try to be successful. It's just you got to get the execution a little bit better. So Ohio State?
Yeah, let's go to Ohio State in Maryland. Now, this game is going to sound like a blowout, but it was actually very interesting. 37-17, Ohio State gets the victory, but this one was close all along and throughout the game. In fact, at halftime, it was 10-10. Even going into the fourth quarter, it was 20-17. Ohio State had taken that lead. But this was a good game, and I know Ohio State's kind of not looking like they have in recent years, but Maryland actually gave them a good game last year as well. So maybe don't jump onto them too much for that right here. Talia Voga was 21 of 41, 196 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions in this game. On the opposite side, Ohio State, Kyle McCord, 19 of 29, 2 touchdowns, 320 yards. The interesting thing to me about this game, too, is that Ohio State's running game was shut down, only 62 yards, 1.9 yards per rush. So maybe there is some chinks in the armor there for the Buckeyes. And certainly I think that it feels that way. Ryan Day, I think the quickest since Chris Peterson to 50 wins in 56 games. Very impressive. On the opposite side, Maryland now 0 for 32 against ranked teams since joining the Big Ten.
Scott Van Pelt could not be more proud. Let's see. Penn State had a bye this week. Michigan State had a bye this week. Indiana had a bye this week. And Northwestern had a bye this week, only they played an actual game against the Howard Bison. And the Bison come storming back. 23-7 the score going into the fourth quarter. And the Howard Bison outscore Northwestern 13-0 in the fourth. But the Wildcats do hang on for a 23-20 win. Northwestern on the season. Who would have thought this going into the year? Northwestern's 3-3. I mean, 1-2 in the conference. You knew there were some bad teams in the conference. However, take 2. Minnesota was not one of them, and that's their win in conference. So Northwestern again, though, man, they look really bad for most of all of their games. But then there's times where they show flashes of being a football team that can compete. You know, are they going to compete with some of the top level teams in the conference? No, but somehow, some way they do hold on for the win. Brendan Sullivan had 3 total touchdowns, starting in place of injured starter Ben Bryant. Wildcats have a bye next week, and then they match up against the Huskers right here in town. That's homecoming too, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So Nebraska and Northwestern both have byes going into their game here in a couple of weeks. That'll, I believe, take care of it, because with all the byes and Big Ten matchups, that kind of gets us to where we are. The thing Tom and I also like to do kind of in this segment when we do the Big Ten Blitz is rank the teams. And it's kind of easy to me. Mine jumbled a little bit. I actually had Michigan number 3 last week, and I moved them up to number 1. Like I said, again, just because they're starting to play. And hey, how you doing? We saw you waving. No, they were in the, I think it was an Envoy.
Oh, okay.
Driving by. So appreciate you guys driving by here. Great studio downtown at 11th and O Street. But yeah, Michigan's starting to play like you kind of figured they would. I dropped Ohio State from 1 to 2 and Penn State from 2 to 3, with Michigan kind of leapfrogging both of those. And I think they're so close, all three of them. And then to me, Maryland is just a lock at number 4 right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of that Maryland game, you and I were talking on Thursday night at the grand opening, and I made a comment that I'd bet Nebraska on the money line, and it was one of the larger bets I've ever placed. I don't make big bets, but it was.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident Nebraska was going to win. And the other game that to me would have been a lock was Maryland covering the at the time 18 points against Ohio State. The line moved Saturday on where I would place a wager to 19. And we had the get together last night. And so we got really, really busy. And I forgot to make my bet. And I was going to match the bet and bet the same amount of money. And I forgot. And lo and behold, they wind up not covering.
Yeah,
So,
they lose by 20 after such a competitive game.
so I was really happy when I saw it. It's like, I didn't wind up losing any money there. Would you agree with those top 4? I mean, I think Maryland's 4th, but are the other 3 interchangeable right now?
I like you. I would put Michigan number 1. I think they've probably earned that by now. Penn State and Ohio State, you probably have a good argument one way or the other. And it's kind of interesting. You look at the top 25 now. The Big Ten, you say, oh, that's the Big Ten so good this year because they've got those teams all in the top 6. Not another team ranked after that. So, I mean, there is in the tier system, I mean, it is a pretty big gap, sizable gap. And I think anybody can see it from 3 to 4. And then I think that middle is starting to fill out a little bit.
It is. I've got Wisconsin at 5. I moved them up 1 from 6. I dropped Rutgers from 5 down to 7. I don't know. I think that, those 2 along with Iowa, Iowa's in at number 6.
Yeah.
I think they're all pretty good. Rutgers, like you said, it was a pretty close game. And you got to see more potential, I think, than what a lot of people anticipated from Greg Schiano, even though he's in year 4 now of this rebuild. And
you
it
still
hasn't
just
gone.
never believe in Rutgers.
Yeah, I've got Nebraska now at number 8, Minnesota 9, Purdue 10, Illinois 11, Northwestern Indiana, Michigan State, all the way down to 14. And in all reality, I think Wisconsin, Iowa, Rutgers are that call it third tier. I don't even know if there's a second tier or Maryland's on it by themselves. But then Nebraska through, quite honestly, Northwestern, and I'm going to elevate Northwestern into that just pack that you could make an argument for any of them being 8th or any of them being 12th. It's just simply because Northwestern is you're seeing some progress. They did beat Minnesota, which is a pretty average PJ Fleck team, but at the same time, man, Minnesota does things the right way. And that was a heck of a win.
Yeah, and it's tough too. Like, where do you grade? How do you put Minnesota behind Nebraska, even though they beat Nebraska, but Nebraska should have beat basically? It's just a big mess. And I think that's pretty much what is fair. I mean, I think if you played them again, you're not necessarily going to win or lose that game or have confidence that you're going to win that game, or you can call it. So I mean, I think it is, and that's where the intrigue is a lot of these games for Nebraska coming up, Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan State, they're all in there.
Yeah.
So sure, this week, you can put one ahead of the other, but it's going to change week to week, game to game. And I don't know if there's, by the end of the season, going to be much, a big leader or a different tier.
No, yeah, it's going to be just a big muddled mess. Interesting thing, Nebraska's going to try to do something that now you can't win 3 in a row or 4 in a row or 5 in a row until you win your next one. They got 1. If they do manage to win against Northwestern, they will be going after their first 3-game winning streak since 2016. I mean, think about that. They were talking about that on the water cooler or something earlier, or happy hour earlier this week. And I was sitting like, that can't be true. But even though I know it has to be, because they're reading off the schedules. They won 2 here and then they lost this game. They won 2 here and they lost that. And it's like, holy smokes. But this is golden opportunity. I mean, and again, hey, you know what? If they're all ugly 20-7 wins, or 21-20 wins, or they're all just ugly, who cares right now? We all said we believe in Matt Rule. We believe in what he's doing, or not all of us, but a lot of people do. Take the wins, man, because games like that for the last 5 years, that was a guaranteed loss, no matter how bad that other team was.
Yeah. And especially, again, to rank these teams, it was so hard to do a Scott Frost team because, like, are we ranking what they should be, what they could be, what they are 3.5 quarters in? You know, it's like, where do you put them? And so, I mean, I do think this team, I've said it before, I don't, like, when I looked before the season and I looked at all those Scott Frost teams, I said, that team has a bowl roster. If I look at this team, I don't know. It's just so far removed from bowl teams. There's not like a semblance of, like, you know, too many all-conference guys. And this defense obviously is a bowl defense. We figured that halfway through the season, but we're still kind of in that get to know and see in the improvement category if they can get there. And they're going to have to win a lot of coin flip games. And in order to do that, obviously they're going to have to take care of the ball better than they did against Illinois. But that's kind of, and people may not like it, that's what the Big Ten West is built on a lot. A lot of these Minnesota teams that are winning 9 games a year, Iowa that's winning 9 every year or whatever, you know, they're not beating everybody 46-13. They're grinding out a 21-18 win once your team makes a mistake and they'll capitalize late. Yep. That's kind of what it is. And Nebraska's not quite there or even looking at that, you know, like that quite yet because they're too mistake prone. But if you just kind of, that's all it is. If you just take kind of those mistakes out of there, you have a solid defense, you can run the clock. You know, you can win a formula that's pretty much tried and true in this part of the country, and particularly in this division.
Oh, exactly. One of my favorite things all time, and I can honestly say I am probably a bigger fan of this sport and this team than anybody else, pro or college or high school, Waverly High School, go Vikes. But Nebraska basketball has been a passion of mine for so long. And I've been fortunate over the years to be able to meet a couple of the guys that played. I ran a gas station in downtown Lincoln, Eric Strickland and the gang that he used to run with the Huskers, Bernard Garner and Chester Searles and Mikey Moore all would come in. And another guy that I wound up meeting was one of the few players that played on Mo Iba's last team and Danny Nee's first team. And I worked with him a few years ago. And his name is Bernard Day. He's a former Husker hoopster, played professionally overseas for a lot of years. His son BJ was on one of Tim Miles' teams. I think he was here for a year or two. But we are going to catch up with Bernard Day and kind of get his thoughts on Nebraska basketball. We'll do that when we come back here on Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Yet another Nebraska winter is looming, and you know you're going to need tires on your vehicle. Don't fret, they are all on sale now during the October Spectacular event at Graham Tire Company. Buy 3 Kumho tires and get the 4th tire free with the purchase of an install package. Save big on Goodyear, Hankook, Nokian, and more. Big rebates on select Goodyear tires that will double when you use your Goodyear credit card. It's their biggest sale of the year, and it's happening now. GrahamTireLincoln.com, getting you to the places that matter most. Journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
Get all of your favorite restaurants delivered with VenueDelivered.com. One place for ordering delicious appetizers, refreshing salads, hot entrees, fresh sandwiches, and more. From Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, and all Lincoln Good Sense Subs locations. Download our phone app to earn rewards on all of your carryout and delivery orders. Available on Apple and Android, just search for the Pillar Restaurants app. That's the Pillar Restaurants app. Download today.
This is Bud Seinhorst, President and CEO of LIBA, the Lincoln Independent Business Association. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket for the LIBA Business Hour, as we discuss local business and highlight those who are thriving in the Lincoln area. It's the LIBA Business Hour, Saturdays from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket and the Ticket FM.com. Get my headphones squared away here. I'm Mike Belby. That's Jake Rockhoven. And joining us on the Allo VIP line is former Husker hoopster Bernard Day. Good friend of mine. Bernard, welcome to the show, man. Happy you could join us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. VIP line brought to you by Allo Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. Bernard, it was kind of funny because I was talking to Bach a little bit about your background. You're one of the guys that played for Mo Iba's last team and Danny Nee's first team, and you and I have had some great conversations about that. But for those that maybe don't know you and your career, walk us through not only those couple of years with Mo and Danny back and forth, but then your career and where it took off after you left Nebraska.
Coming here and playing for Mo, I mean, it was a great experience for me. It was a situation where, Nebraska had never been to the NCAA tournament. And that year was the first year they ever made it. And, that was like a big accomplishment for me. And then the following year when Coach Nee came in, we ended up making it to the Final Four, the NIT.
Yeah, you lost it to Paul, right, in the semifinals, if I remember right.
No, that was Southern Miss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Southern Miss that we lost to. And then we ended up, I can't remember who we played in that preliminary game, but yeah, we finished third. And then after that, I ended up going overseas for 7 years. I played in Ireland, I played in Holland, I played in France, and I played in Israel.
What was your favorite country to play in and why?
I really enjoyed Holland. The people there were great. I mean, they loved basketball. And they were very friendly. It's like the guys on the basketball team, we got along real well. We used to have little parties here and there. We all got together. And, and it's like in other countries, it was just go to the gym practice and go home or do whatever you're going to do after that. It wasn't too much camaraderie with the guys on those teams.
Interesting. So you were able to get to the opening night with Nebraska basketball, the men's and women's team go out, a little bit of a scrimmage, a little bit, just some fun. It's a nice event for the fans. And by the way, Arkansas Little Rock was the team you guys knocked off in overtime for the third place in the NIT that year. It was bugging me. I knew I had to look it up. So at any rate, this year's team, what did you see? Well, first of all, what were your thoughts on the roster construction during the offseason? The transfers they brought in, the Eli Rice, who had been committed for a long time, but then the late addition of Matar Diop as well. What were your thoughts on the roster construction?
Well, they got a little more athletic. And so, and they got a little bigger. And the guys look mobile. And the thing is like when you're going into the Big Ten, you got to have some sort of physicality down inside. Guys who wants to bang and who wants to get after guys, especially on the defensive end. And what I was seeing when I went to opening night, watching that, I can see the athleticism But the thing that's going to get me is I just want to see guys as they play together. You know, you got to take and put all this together on the basketball court, trying to figure out that starting five that you're going to have, even though, you know, he got a jump on it when they went overseas to play this summer. So he should have a better idea, but I didn't get to see it. So I'm just waiting to see myself.
Well, go ahead.
I'm looking forward to it because, you know, he was telling me the roster was a lot better than it's been in the past 4 years. And I'm just looking forward to seeing it.
Bernard Day, former Husker hoopster, joining us here on the Allo VIP line. And you mentioned those games where they played over in Spain, and you know nobody was really able to see them. We got to see some stats, etc. But the thing that stood out to me more than anything was they figured out a way to win all 3 games, missing 5 guys on the roster that realistically could be a starting 5 on opening night. And to me, that told me a little bit about the depth they have. And you heard Coach Hoiberg talk about the fact that they have a team with so much depth that like he's never, ever seen anything like this, especially in his time at Nebraska. So with that depth, you've played a lot of ball. At some point, you're going to get to an 8-9-man rotation. What's it take from a team standpoint when you know you're that good, you've got that many people that can play? What's it take from a mentality standpoint for the guys that maybe aren't getting the minutes they want?
Well, the thing is, it starts in practice because you got to keep pushing each other. And, you know, and that's where it all stems from. It's those guys who put the best foot forward. And then, you know, they go out and play in the game. But watching and being a player myself, it's always going to be the next man up because you never know what's going to happen during the season. So you always got to be prepared and ready to play. So, you know, if somebody go down or if somebody can't play at that point in time, they foul out or whatever the case may be, you have to be ready to go in because you feel like you're one of those players that should be out there playing. And that's when you have to put forth that effort and show that you belong out there.
It's interesting this year. Keisei Tamanaga was named to the preseason All Big Ten team, and obviously went on a heck of a run last year. So it's not like we have questions of whether they can build on an offensive around him. But is what we saw last year toward the end of that year with, you know, his hot shooting and he's just kind of a smaller player. Is that sustainable, do you think, throughout an entire season for Keisei?
I don't know for a whole season, but, you know, he's going to have his moments where he's going to knock down shots like he usually does. But a big factor in that was playing with Walker, because him and Walker were on the same page in a lot of things, and you know the back doors and the pop outs and everything that they were doing. You know, if he can't get on the same page with somebody on a team like that, then it's going to be a little more difficult than it was last year because you know it's like he's not going to be that surprise player. They know what he's capable of as far as shooting a basketball. They're going to want him to put the ball on the floor and try to go to the basket. And he's a smart player. I like the way he plays.
Yeah, and the one thing, one of his kind of Achilles heels here, the first 2 years, a little bit more like the first year and a half to me, was defensively. There were times you saw great effort, just maybe not, you know, he would go under a screen. You know, he wouldn't fight through the screen and guys would get open looks. And there was always great effort, but at times he seemed to be in the wrong place. What have you seen from him as far as improvement in his defensive game, and what do you think he does better now?
What makes up for all of it is his intensity. I mean, he plays hard and he tries to get to where he needs to be, but just being a little undersized and, you know, really coming into trying to figure out the defensive part of the basketball game, I think he's gotten a little better. But, you know, still, he's going to be challenged as far as being a two guard. You know, if they find somebody who's going to try to post him up or even take him to the basket off the dribble, you know, the lateral movement thing is not that great. But I hope it's something that he's worked on and they tried to figure out for him.
Well, and it's interesting this year, just kind of on a grand scale, is that Nebraska this past year finally got to 500 under Fred Hoiberg. And it was, you know, it was through a lot of injuries. But I suppose when he says this is his most talented group, Nebraska eventually wants to take that next step under Fred Hoiberg. What do you think that next step would be? In other words, what do you think the expectation should be for this team?
Well, it's going to be about what the expectations that the team has for itself. When me coming in, it was like, I want to do everything I could to help us win. And, whether it's defense, rebounding, scoring, whatever it took, I tried to do my best to help in those aspects. And with this team, if you can get these guys to click, it's like, well, we want to take it a little further, where in the past 4 years, 5 years, we've been struggling to even get over 500. And so now we want to take it further. We want to try to get into an NIT, or even best, make it to the NCAA tournament. And that's going to take a lot of pulling together and a heck of a lot of effort.
Bernard Day joining us on the Allo VIP line. From that opening night, and I get it, it's a scrimmage, it's kind of a glorified practice, etc. But from that opening night, what were your best takeaways from individual play? Who's a guy that impressed you the most? And did you see anything that gave you just a little bit of reason for pause or a slight concern?
As far as concern, no. I mean, like I said, my biggest thing is, because you have to find some kind of identity when you're going into this league, whether it's defensively or having a great post player or a great forward or two that can go out and score for you. It's like Nebraska never really had that. And watching these guys, I saw the athleticism, yes. But that only goes so far when somebody puts a body on you. It's how you can fight through it and get around it to use that athleticism. And one guy I really think should be able to take his game to another level is Gary. I sit back and I watch him. He don't settle for that three-pointer. He has that big body where he can go inside and bang with some people. But is that something that he wants to do? I'm not quite sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And then the guy, I think Jop, I'm looking for him because he's athletic. And I want to see him around the basket blocking shots. So it's going to be interesting to see this team when it gets down to it, when the season starts.
Well, when we talked about their development, about how they're deep, kind of defining those roles, I think is kind of interesting, as they're basically going to be fighting for playing time, fighting for minutes, and fighting for a role in this offense and this defense and this team. When do you think that they should kind of have that figured out? Because I find in modern college basketball, I mean, it's always a brand new team, it seems like, with a lot of different guys. So it's a lot of time, and not guys you've played with over the years. Is that kind of the kind of hope by conference play, you kind of know who you are?
Well, coming into it, you have those the practices, and you sit back and you watch, and you put guys in different scenarios and different positions. And then as you go and you travel overseas and you just throw 5 out there and you want to see which ones click, and then you just take it from there. So it's like, okay, I got this 5 right here. They seem to play good together. So you throw them out there. And then all of a sudden, if that doesn't start to work, then you have to, in practice, start to experiment all over again. And that's where it gets kind of tough, because you still trying to figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it. And in the meantime, the season is rolling by, and you got to figure it out real quick, because before you know it, you'd be struggling again to try to get over 500. So, those guys, I'm thinking they putting forth that effort in practice, and some guys are a little ahead of some other guys as far as experience. So you will want to take and use that experience first and to bring those younger guys along. But if you got those younger guys playing better than the ones that experience, you put them out there and say, hey, I got to go with you.
Former Husker hoopster Bernard Day joining us here on Husker Rewind, joining us on the Allo VIP line. Bernard, before we let you go, I'm not going to put you on the line and say, absolutely, you got to give me a season prediction. But I'm going to put you on the line. I want you to give me a season prediction right now. What do you think the regular season record winds up being? How many wins will they get in their 31 games?
I'm gonna go with 18.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go with 18.
I like it. I like the positivity. I like the number 18 off of that because Tom and I were actually having a discussion earlier this week, and we went through the schedule, and we felt a little harsh, with some teams that we just like. Well, they have no chance to win this game. Purdue. You just say, yeah, they're never going to beat Purdue. Well, they were a poor phantom call against CJ Wilcher away from beating Purdue last year. You know what I mean? So we didn't give them any upsets. And Tom and I both agreed, we think 18-13 might be a realistic, number for Nebraska to be with. And at 18-13, you would have to think that they are in the mix. They're definitely going to make an NIT, but they may be on the bubble. They may, if you get a couple of conference tournament wins, and you could. Do you think this team will get to the postseason? And granted, we haven't seen them play, so we don't know wholeheartedly, but with the roster structure, is this a team that looks like it could win in the postseason?
Yes, it does look like a team that can win. You get a lot of stuff that's we as fans and sometimes players, we can look at a roster and say, man, look at this roster compared to that roster. And all of a sudden that roster doesn't live up to the expectations. And so with this team, it's a matter of gelling through the season as they did last year at the latter part of the season where they came along and, they snuck in a few upset wins and they were like one win away from the NIT. And so with this team right here, it has to be the same way, but they have to get off to a good start. Doesn't do any good to get off to a good start. Then you go into Big Ten play and all of a sudden you just get a goose egg through 5-6 games. Then that's a struggle. But, I think it's possible that they can get off to a good start. They can lose 1 or 2 games, which sometimes brings you back to reality and saying, hey, we need to do better. And then run off another 7 or 8 games in a row.
Absolutely. Bernard, greatly appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
All right. Thanks. You too, Mike.
Bernard Day, former Husker hoopster, joining us. Bernard and I worked together a while ago, and he's one of the neatest guys, and he understands the game so well. We had some super in-depth conversations back when his son was playing with Tim Miles and stuff. Bach, I'm going to throw this out to you because when I kind of put together the rundown, I threw out, the last segment of the last hour, whatever. Is there a direction you want to go? Do you want to focus in and maybe look at the schedule and some Husker hoop stuff? Do you want to talk anything else? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't get the chance to talk too much Husker hoops right now. I'd like to keep on rolling with the Husker hoops conversation.
I'm in. We're going to do that when we come back. I'm Mike Melby. That's Jake Baco, and it's Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm volleyball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
Honey, wake up.
What? Tom, it's 5 a.m.
Help me find my keys. I gotta get to a Nebraska lottery retailer early before they run out of Trucks and Bucks tickets. I really want to win one of the 8 new Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel trucks they're giving away.
Tom, we've talked about this. Trucks and Bucks is the Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch game. So tickets are going to be around for quite a while, and it doesn't matter what time of day you buy them. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so get back in bed.
As soon as I get back.
From where?
I've got to get to a Nebraska lottery retailer early before they run out of, breakfast burritos. Yeah, breakfast burritos.
Play $2 Trucks and Bucks from the Nebraska Lottery. You could win one of 8 2023 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel trucks. Ford F-150 is a registered trademark owned and licensed by Ford Motor Company. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree And 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Is your backyard ready for fun with friends and family this fall? GE Landscape Supply has pavers and boulders, which are a great accent for any landscaping project. And you can find them at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere, nearby or far away. Stop by at 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Go to gelandscapesupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition and Wellness specialize in getting rid of people's pain quickly and permanently. For 31 years, they've been extremely successful with advanced techniques in pain relief using spinal adjustments and decompression, detoxification, diet and lifestyle modification, and more. They are fully equipped to handle the most seasonal athlete, weekend warrior, car accidents, strains, sprains, and more. Is there anywhere you're experiencing pain on your body, or are you fighting decreased energy and depression? Consult Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition and Wellness first at 402-476-8619.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. I'm Mike Melby. That's Jake Bachhofen filling in for Tom Stevens. Tom will be back next week. We just had Bernard Day on the Allo VIP line. Bernard played back in the late 80s he played in 85, 86 for Moiba's last team, which was the first team in Nebraska basketball history to make the NCAA tournament. They lost to, I believe, Western Kentucky in the opening round. And then in 86, 87, Danny Nee came in, and Bernard was, I believe, his leading scorer that year. But great insight from Bernard on his thoughts on this year's team, I thought. We asked him some specifics on some players, and he gave, I thought, a great breakdown of Keisei Tominaga. He's a guy that is going to have to fight for it. That enthusiasm that Keisei plays with, one of the funniest lines of Coach Hoiberg, the one kind of big press conference was when he was talking about we had Keisei settle down and not do as much when he got back from overseas because of, just that grind of, 3 different cut rounds of being able to make the Japanese team. And then he does make the team. And then he goes through the world championships or whatever they were to where they get qualified for the Olympics. And that's a grind, man. How'd you spend your off season? Well, I worked harder than I did during the season, played more. So they tapered him back. And then Coach Hoiberg is like, but the energy that he brings, I mean, he's yelling at the top of his lungs every day. Half the time you have no idea what the hell he's saying, but because he's talking in Japanese, but you cannot cap that energy. And, Bernard pointed it out. He's going to have to play with that. He's going to have to, understand that he doesn't have Derek Walker to feed him the ball down low on those backdoor cuts anymore. I don't know what kind of an offense they run. That became a staple of last year. The one thing that I know Coach Hoiberg said, and I want to get your thought on this, Bach. He said, we're going to run a positionless offense, and we will not literally at all, if things are going well, have set plays. The play is, what is that guy doing when you dribble and take a step right or look right? What's his response? That's what you do. That you gauge off of what the defense presents you. Do you think that's sustainable? Or do they need set plays?
I think I would like them to have a few more set plays, I suppose, than that, because they do have some height this year. And I don't know, we would have to see. I mean, they've got a lot of guys that they can interchange.
Well, that's the whole thing. He talked about, he goes, if you want to go gargantuan, well, we can do that.
Yeah.
and I think one of the keys, I don't know that this is the key to get to 18 wins or this is a key to get to 20 wins or postseason, but a guy that I think is going to give them a ton if he's healthy is Blaise Keita. They're about a week away, I think, from that new scan on the ankle. He's been walking around in a walking boot. But getting Blaise Keita healthy to me, I think is paramount to really good success. I think they can have success without him. Matar Diop, the dude athletically, he's gonna play. You can't. What was he? Coach was talking about the fact he's like, he dunks the ball and he's looking down on the rim. I mean, there's things you can't teach. He hasn't been playing the game overly long. He doesn't have the ton of offensive skill moves patented yet. But from an athletic standpoint, defensively, the guy is just going to create havoc in the lane. He's going to block shots. He's going to change shots. He's going to be a force defensively. But then you're like, okay, well then who sits? You got Keita that hopefully is healthy, but think about this. They could go with 6'7" Bryce Williams, 6'8" Eli Rice, 6'11" Blaise Keita. Well, heck, do it this way. Rank Mast at 6'10", Matar Diop 6'10", Blaise Keita at 6'11", and then throw in Eli Rice at 6'8" and Josiah Alec at 6'8". Okay. Really?
Yeah.
And then turn around and, you have Casey on the floor. Put Casey out there with Sam Hoiberg. So you got what's Casey?
6'2". Listed 6'2".
6'2", yeah. I had dinner at Cohen one night, and we actually were sitting next to Casey.
Yeah.
He was out on a date, and I don't think he's 6'2".
Yeah, I don't think so.
No. But so let's throw out 6'2" Casey Tominaga, 6 foot Sam Hoiberg, 6'3" Jamarcus Lawrence, and I don't know, 6'4" Cale Jacobson. He had a heck of a trip over in Spain.
Yeah.
But in CJ Wilcher at 6'5", I mean, you can go guard heavy.
Yeah.
And protect the ball.
Juwan
and make
Gary
free throw
can
heavy.
play kind of big if you need him.
And that's the whole thing. Juwan Gary's 6'6", so he's not in that 6'8", 6'10" guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he out rebounds most people that are 6'10".
Yeah.
Because of his freak athletic ability. I mean, this roster makeup to me is absolutely crazy. There's 12 guys that realistically could see playing time every single game. I don't know if that's feasible, but at the same time, how many times have we sat there and watched Nebraska teams where you have 2 or 3 guys that are on the floor, Teron Pettaway and Walter Pitchford, James Palmer Jr., they're on the floor 38 minutes a game, and we're to game 17 in conference. And
you need them to be. You don't have a choice.
But that game, they're 2 of 17.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's wrong with? Well, he's played 9 million minutes is what's wrong with him. So this year, that may not be. You may not have a guy that averages 30 minutes a game.
Now, your one thing that you do kind of think about is, can Keisei Tominaga develop? Eric Strickland's talked about this for a while. He thinks what's missing in his game is the kind of the 2 point guard set if he's going to play at the next level. So are they going to try to force that? How's that going to work? Because the other thing is, without Aaron Eulis, who got into a little bit of trouble at Iowa, they still don't have the true point guard on their roster. So that is the kind of one thing you think about. Although maybe some potential down the bench, with guys we haven't seen, Romel Lloyd or somebody like that, they could get it going.
Yeah, Boogie Coleman is supposed to, he has point guard abilities, And I think he ran the point at Ball State as well. I know he averaged about 3.4 assists a game. The guy that they're going to hand the ball to be the air quote point guard in a positionless offense is Jamarcus Lawrence. Great article about him today in the World Herald. And he's a guy that when you listen to him in interviews and see some of his quotes, you genuinely go, that is a guy that gets it. That it factor. We always talk about it. Well, just getting it, like what your position is, what your limitations are, what your capabilities are. If you get it, you're going to be a so much better player. And to me, Jamarcus Lawrence, every time you hear him speak, you're like, he gets it.
Yeah.
He knows he wasn't good enough to be on the floor early last year. He learned what he needed to do to get on the floor. Now, granted, injuries helped him have the opportunity. And then all he did was learn from the way he played, how he could get better, how in the last 4 games, double digits every game. I mean, to me, he gets it. And I want a guy to run my point when we do have to run a set play, when the game's on the line, and whether it's coming out of a timeout or whatever, and we need to run a play right now. To me, Jamarcus Lawrence, hey, yeah, let him go, man.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do. Is he going to bury a 3 on a step back, or is he going to fake the 3 and hit Casey wide open coming off of a double screen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or is he going to dump it down to Blaze, who's then going to fire out to Rick Mast, who should have been down low because he's 6'10", but nope, he can shoot 37%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the weapons they have, I'm so looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be the most enjoyable Husker Hoops season for Husker Hoops fans in a while. It just got to perform. You got to get it done, though. So
I'm glad you brought up DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he's got a lot of upside. I thought that last year. Remember, he'd go on like stretches where he'd score like 8 in like 4 possessions, and then you wouldn't hear from him the rest of the game. But he showed that potential as a freshman.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'll tell you right now, mark my words, Eli Rice will be a factor on this team as a true freshman. Young man, I think, led him in scoring over in Spain. Man, this roster is stacked.
Don't get my hopes up, Melby.
I'm sorry. I'm getting your hopes up, man.
All right.
Jake Bachhoven, thank you so much for joining me. Tom Stevens will be back next week. I'm Mike Melby. Everybody have yourselves a great week. Good night.